You're listening to The Blind Chick, an AfterSight original podcast. We're telling you stories about strength, overcoming hurdles, and living experiences. We see who you really are. Blindness can be an adventure. Are you ready for the journey of a lifetime? We are. Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Blind Chick podcast. My name is Jonathan Price, and I'm so glad that you guys are joining us again this week. You're going to want to check this one out, but before we get into this one, go back and check out part 1 with Marty Sobo, because it is quite a humbling experience to hear this man's story of the LA fires and his experience and how it combines. So go back and listen to that one, as it may set the stage more appropriately for part 2. So without further ado, thank you for listening. Here's Penn and Moses.
I know here in Colorado, I did not know this until just a couple years ago about the emergency alert systems and, you know, the natural disaster notifications, is that I, for some reason, thought it was like a national thing, like all of the states, like there was this one big system and all the states, you know, did the same thing, but that's not true. And I was educated, and I go to a conference every year now about making sure that these alert systems are accessible, and how do we reach out to people with disabilities so that they have a plan, they know who to call, and they're not relying completely on these alert systems. And in Colorado, the alert systems are super narrow. So it was weird that even though I wasn't even in the same county, I got that pre-evacuation notice for a fire that was happening near my home, 50 miles away. And Moses was here at our home, and he didn't even get the message. And because what happens in Colorado, and we're trying to change this, is that the actual alert system is per the sheriff's office. So if there's a county and they only have one sheriff's office, then and it may not even be anywhere near you. And it's up to that sheriff's office and the funding they have and the how that alert system even happens. So some of them, of course, if you live in Denver, you know, Denver's this big city, they have lots of money, you're probably, that alert system is going to be pretty accurate and reliable. But if you live, you know, like up here in northern Colorado, and there's a lot of small towns, you don't have the funding. And so those alert systems don't always work. It just seems insane to me that this is 2025 and we can't get this down.
Well, so unfortunately, here's a couple things to think about. First of all, it's never a perfect scenario. Like California, for example, California is all under CAL FIRE. The whole state is kind of under CAL FIRE, basically, right? And then when they're sending out their alerts, you know, they're going through the cell towers and all this stuff. That's why there was failure and things like that, you know?
Right.
But in Oregon, it's much, much smaller, and Oregon has way less money than a place like California, for example. So the makeup of Oregon basically is you've got some bigger paid fire departments that run on, you know, getting paid and like a regular kind of a typical big fire department. But they're kind of few and far between, so they're supported by a bunch of smaller fire departments that are volunteer. Like, for example, you were talking about the alerts. So where I was at, the dispatch unit that, you know, dispatches all the information to all of the police, fire, and all of that stuff, they're all kind of go by, the small areas that they're in, and they're all different, and they don't necessarily communicate with each other. But the area that I was in, they were the ones who sent out those text messages, and they also do a phone call with an automated recording. That way, it's simple, So if you get a text message, it doesn't matter what kind of phone you have. I mean, even a flip phone can get a text message. And if you couldn't read it, somebody could read it to you. But it would work with any screen reader or anything because it's just text, right? And then the other thing is they also follow that up with a phone call with an automated message. Anybody can pick up the phone and hear "evacuate now" or whatever the message is they want to tell you,
Right.
But I mean, that's in a very small area. How do you make that standard across the whole country? I mean, that's a hard thing to do, especially with every state having a different kind of setup to their fire service, Yeah,
because also when you bring up the country, you're talking hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, river floods, ocean floods. So it sounds like this alarm system, warning system, really needs work.
Well, it needs to be honed into the air. It's supposed to be only in your area. Like here, you get an alert. Let's say, we all got alerts on our phones because we were all, there together in the same place. But and then everybody in that neighborhood should have also gotten that alert. But once you're out of that neighborhood and you're somewhere else, you shouldn't get an alert if you're 5 miles away from that neighborhood or whatever. I mean,
because it's pinging off the cell tower you're nearest, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
but it's not a perfect situation because if there's major fire, they got to cut power, or there can be a million different things.
Right. Oh my goodness. Do you have any ideas how we can make it more just the whole experience more accessible, even from the alert systems, and how do we even educate the disabled community about natural disasters and to be prepared and what to do about it?
Well, the first thing is thinking far in advance. And even though, it's not a fun thing to do, preparing yourself ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I would say that some of the things that you could do is first and foremost is, get with your family or whoever, is around, that you, family, friends, whatever it is, and make a plan ahead of time. And when you make that plan, it's not only about just only getting yourself out of the house in that moment or wherever you are. It's about, making sure that you have a way to communicate if you need to once you're out. You have to make sure that you have a place to go where you can have a meetup spot. If you can't use your phone because the cell phone towers are down, or if you can't get a hold of someone, have a place where you can get to where you can have a meetup spot.
Okay, that makes sense.
Another thing is making sure that you have important things that you are absolutely going to need at family members' homes, right? Like have a small little safe with the most important things in it, or I should say copies of the most important documentation in a small little fire safe, right? And have that at a family member's house, or get a couple of them at multiple family members' houses, right? Also things that you may need as a personal person, as a blind person, you need a cane. But what if you can't get out and get your cane fast enough and you just need to get out? Then you know that you're going to have a backup cane at a family member's house that you can get if you need to,
Right.
And things that are important to you. I mean, like digitize your pictures and put them somewhere if that's something that's important to you, or whatever the situation is,
Yeah. I do like the idea of, having it could be a folding cane at somebody, at family members' homes. Like when you mentioned that, I didn't even think about that you might not.
At the end of the day, here's the thing. Once you have a plan, and maybe even it's good to rehearse the plan, right? So that you've even done it, even though maybe there's not an emergency going on. Familiarity. It's like, especially in the blind community, people are successful because they do the same thing over and over again. For example, if you're someone who travels to work, you take that same route every single day. And maybe you still have to pay attention to obstacles. Who knows if a kid's going to leave a bike on the sidewalk? I mean, there's always things you still have to pay attention to. But that route, you don't even have to think about it. You can just go and back and forth and whatever you need to do. It's just repetition. So if you have a plan and you've practiced it and you have communication, a way to communicate, a place to meet up, things at other people's houses, so that if an emergency does come up, that you know where to go to get important documentation, or maybe get a white cane, or whatever things that you absolutely need in your life,
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, once you have all of that, and this is probably the hardest thing, but at the end of the day, if something happens, you have to be prepared to just go and forget about everything else. Like, you have to protect yourself, and you have to just forget about all the things, because you're not going to get all the things, You see people walking out of their houses with like a picture under their arm because that was like grandpa's picture from, 50 years ago, and you don't want to lose it or whatever.
Right.
Things that are irreplaceables. But I mean, you don't have time to make that decision typically,
Right.
You got to go,
right.
And
well, and this conference I go to every year, one of the things we've really talked about is, regardless if you have a disability or not, is get to know your neighbors. Because if you know your neighbors, even, it's not like you have to hang out with them, all the time. But if they, talk to them about that emergency preparedness, like, hey, if I need, there's an evacuation, I can't drive, can we make sure that we connect and I can get a ride out of here? Because that's the lack of mobility options when you're blind and low vision is one of the scariest things to me, and like you said, how in this fire, like, the traffic was so bad, people just abandoned their cars and started walking. Yeah. And, that just is like crazy to me. Like, how would you even, you would really talk about self-advocacy, right? You would have to be like, hey, can I have somebody's arm?
Yeah, definitely. And having a plan is always going to help, and trying to be as prepared as you can. You're never really prepared, but to have a clear mind and be able to put your plan into action when you have to is better than just, oh my gosh, I got to go now. And like, what do I get? I have 3 minutes to get out of here. What am I going to grab?
Right.
Right. And you don't ever grab what you really want to grab. You just don't know what to grab, so you just.
Right. Yeah, I know when I got that alert that we were under pre-evacuations with that fire last summer is, I called Moses and I said, I told him about the medications, where to get, to pull those out. And then I did. I have this stuffed monkey that I've had ever since I was 9 years old. His name's Fuzzy. I said, please grab Fuzzy and grab my grandmother's blankets. Like, those were like, and that was even with warning, right? Because we were under pre-evacuations. But then afterwards, I thought, gosh, those are silly things, And of course, the number one things are, are Beethoven and Moses. And I said Beethoven first, but
as usual.
But it is. I love how you keep bringing it up. Have a plan now, start thinking about it now. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, that's not going to happen to me. That happens to other people. That happens in other states,
you can't
other
be
countries.
complacent, because it's going to happen when you least expect it, and then you're going to be unprepared. And we did talk about how you were saying what would you put in a go bag? Well, that's kind of personal depending on what that particular person needs, but that's one part of the plan, right? The other part of the plan is making sure you have things that you would need at multiple family members or close friends' houses, because, how often are you going to know exactly right where to grab your go bag and have it right there ready? I mean, you're not, you could have it, but where did I put my go bag? Is it in the closet? Did I put it in the garage? I don't know, like now you're running around trying to find your go bag, and that kind of lost its point,
Right. Well, what could we do? Like, maybe what are some things that we could do, that maybe we don't feel that? Or do you think that that is just what it is?
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything, honestly. I mean, and also it depends where you are. It's a little bit different if you're in your own house, because at least you know your way around your own house and you know where every single thing is, right? That's just how blind people are. The biggest thing is, making sure that you use something and put it back in the same place so that you can find it later, because if it goes somewhere else, you're never going to know where it is and you're never going to be able to find it. That's just kind of daily living with someone who is blind. But all of that goes out the window if you're somewhere else or in somebody else's house or something like that, right? So the number one thing then would be to get yourself out, because you are going to just make it slower for everybody else because they're worrying about you and they're also trying to get whatever out of the house, right? So that's just, I don't know if there's any way.
Well, and maybe we could just change how we reframe how we think that. Like, you are doing something. You are being helpful by, staying in the car or getting yourself to the car. That is how you are helping.
Yeah, like maybe get in the car and then start calling family members or whatever, something like that.
And that in itself, I feel like if it'll feel like you have some control over the situation. And again, you could have the best solid plan in the world, but something may happen that throws it all to the wind. But if you can be proactive in any sort of way, I think it would help. I do love that idea, Marty, of have a get together. Like, hey, here's my phone number. Can I have your phone number? Because really, our neighbors, we now only have one guy's phone number who lives behind us. But he gave us his number because he had a massive heart attack a couple of years, and it took a while before he could get help because he didn't know who. After he came home from the hospital. He didn't really know anybody, and we just randomly saw him and he goes, yeah. And so we now keep better, we watch for him, and if we haven't seen him in a while, we go knock on his door, it's like,
I mean, there's also other technology. You could put an app on your phone. There was an app which started in Oregon, went to California, and now it's all over the country. It's called Watch Duty, and it's for tracking fires and stuff like that.
Yes.
But the problem is it's not accessible.
Yeah, I know. And I was going to ask that, what are some of the things that we could do? Are there any apps? Should we let our local fire department know, hey, I'm blind and I live at this address. Is there anything, is that a good idea?
I mean, I guess so.
The services.
I guess so, but I mean, I guess as many options as you can create for yourself. But if there's a life-threatening emergency, they're not going to come pick you up and drive you somewhere. Right. You know what I mean? They can't do that, really. So
right.
Maybe they can let somebody know, but that's not going to be top of their mind. Can you imagine if they had, a thing in their fire station where they got 100 people in this particular neighborhood that have disabilities that need whatever, and they don't drive and they need extra help or whatever? I mean, that's they can't do that. I mean,
right. I know I shouldn't say all of us. There are people that live in extremely rural communities that don't have a lot of different resources and services in their communities. But I do feel like if you're connected, like Aftersight, we have actually had people call us and ask us questions about, emergency preparedness and things like that. And we have resources and services that we can kind of pass them off depending on where they live. But I think feeling like you're part of your community and talking to your community that's close by, talking to your family members, talking to your friends, because I think these fires in your area are a wake-up call for a lot of us.
Yeah,
I think
going along with that, Penn, is having lived through two of the Estes Park floods that went down the canyon. The first one, 150 people died, and it was because nobody believed in the warnings because it had never happened. And the second one, because everybody knew it could happen, only 2 people died who were caught off guard. And so when you get your warning, believe it and get out.
And don't be complacent. Prepare in advance. Get your family together. Get a go bag together. Put things in other people's friends and family members' homes. Make sure that you have, we all have these smartphones. Put your medical information in the medical app on your phone so that if someone needs to attend to you, they can see, what your medical conditions are. So they're not going to just come and give you some sort of medication because that's what they would do if they were first responders or something,
Right.
There's a lot of things, just like anything. And so the more, time you take to prepare yourself ahead of time, the better off you'll be. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be scary. It's not going to just be like, you're never really totally prepared when it actually happens, But the more prepared you can make yourself, practice, talk with people around you, have a plan, have a checklist, have a way for communications, have a place to meet. There's all these things that you can do, It's just a matter of doing them and practicing.
Absolutely.
And make sure that you have a strong game plan,
Right. Well, so I know you can breathe a little bit right now, but I know the winds are not over completely, right?
And I would say in this particular moment, they've died down a bit, but now they're talking about them coming back at the beginning of the week, which, we're talking here now on a Friday, and they're saying by Monday we're supposed to get winds back again, and so they don't even have the fires even out yet. They're about 20% contained, 30% contained. So, it's...
So what are you doing to not go crazy?
You just...
Or are you?
You don't. I mean, I talk to my family all of the time. We're going, going over to my brother's house, going to my sister's house. We're, making sure everybody's all right. We're listening to, we're alerts. We're talking to friends. We're trying to be as alert and proactive as possible. It's just all of those things, I mean, and then you just got to hope for the best at the end of the day, I mean. Have
you gone down to the beach? Have you?
No, you can't go anywhere near there.
You can't go anywhere near. I was just wondering if you were able to get out and about.
I'm able to get out and about, but you can't go anywhere near any of the big burn places, the Palisades or anything like that. Right. Because besides the homes that are gone and everything that's gone, there's no infrastructure now, I mean, there's no roads, there's no power. Even, let's say your house didn't burn down, right? And it's still standing. Right. Everything around you is going to be burnt down. And even if, maybe there's a small section of houses maybe that got saved or whatever, even if you could go back, how would you live there? Everything around you is completely charred, and the roads are gone. There's no power. There's no sewage. There's no electric. There's no gas. I mean, you couldn't even go back, even if your house did stand through the fire,
Right.
And then
Right.
who's responsible for rebuilding all the infrastructure? I mean, it's a huge, ridiculous mess. Insurance companies don't want to pay out. There's all kinds of problems with that. I mean, it's a big mess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Marty, I'm so thankful that you're okay,
Yes,
and we'll
thank you very
continue
much.
to
We are okay.
check in on you. We're going to continue to check in with you. We'll keep bugging you.
All the people are okay. So that's good.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good, and I pray that continues.
Yes, definitely.
Well, thank you for sharing this with us. I think this is a topic that
it was fascinating for us.
We've got to keep. If you keep it top of mind, keep a top conversation, then maybe it won't be as scary, and it'll be easier to be proactive and put a plan together and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. And I do think you gave us some really great advice. Be ready to go. I love the idea of, it's great to have a to-go bag in your house, but have things at your family members' houses, friends' houses that you may end up having to spend some time with, and practice, communicate with your family, communicate with your friends, meet your neighbors, make sure they know who you are and you know who they are. And I think this is why I wanted you to come on, because I knew you could give some great, not just share your story, but also share with us some of the things, the knowledge that you brought out of it. So,
yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness. Well, stay safe, my friend.
Yeah, for sure.
And thanks for jumping back on the Blind Chick.
Yeah, no, anytime. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And everybody out there, thank you for showing up week after week, and continue to like the Blind Chick. And we're on all of the podcast platforms. Leave a review. We love seeing those come through. We've seen some really unbelievable, beautiful little stories come through. So thank you.
Yes. And at least this podcast, share with all your friends. Tell them they've got to listen to it.
Yes.
Even if they don't follow us, that's fine. But this is because it's happening all over the country, all over the world. This is an important podcast.
These natural disasters, or unnatural disasters, is what they should be called, are affecting all of the planet, and you just never know when it's going to be in your back door, your front door. Everybody out there, be kind to yourselves this week and find a way to be kind to somebody else. It's good for your soul.